there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. The Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
This is Mitchel Evan, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. The Bod Father. And as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to have Mitchel Evan. He is from Richmond, Virginia, Americana singer-songwriter. Mitchel Evan has released his new single, Las Cruces, via the label group INgrooves. Backed by his new four-piece Americana band, Mitchel Evan and the Saboteurs are quickly making a name for themselves in the Americana Southeast. Good old Southern folks, that's what I like. That's where I am, too. So, Mitchel, how's it going, man? And congrats on this new single you got out, dude.
Hey, thanks so much. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing awesome. Glad to have you on the show and get you out there a little bit more, man. So, how's it been working with the label group INgrooves, man?
It's been really good. I just started my relationship with INgrooves via an introduction from a song over at Tag Publicity, who I'm also working with. And Las Cruces was the first release that we did together. And shortly after that, we released another new single called Happy Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day.
What's impressed or excited you the most about making these new singles, if anything, Las Cruces being a big FU to your previous band? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Las Cruces is a little dated for me now. I wrote the song probably 2 years ago when I was living in Colorado and playing with a band out there. And so, yeah, as the statement for the single goes, it's kind of a band breakup song, so to speak. We were parting ways because of creative and personal differences, and that kind of kick-started a lit a fire under me to go out on the road solo and start playing solo more and writing songs that I could perform just alone with me and a guitar.
Writing these previous songs, Mitchel, and even the new songs, does it challenge or push you? Does it show your versatility of your songwriting and musical growth?
Yeah, sure. I consider myself a songwriter first and foremost, more than and just a writer in general. I've written poetry and short stories since I was a little kid and started writing songs, when I was 13 or 14. And I've kind of used the guitar, piano, and most recently the banjo as a vehicle for the songs, So everything kind of comes down to the lyrics and the story for me. And I'm always pushing myself to, above all else, to be as honest and as vulnerable as possible through my songs. So I try to relay whatever's going on in my life and kind of try to articulate it and make sense of it through songs. So it's a cathartic effort, but it's also an effort to communicate that experience to others.
Now, are you currently working on an EP or a full length right now that's getting ready to come out or anything? What are you working on at this time?
Yeah, that's right. So, Las Cruces, to be honest, is a single from an album called Nostalgia that we're going to release in the next 3 or 4 weeks. It'll be up. But that album has been finished for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of working retroactively at this point. And then I've got another record that I've recorded and finished since I've been living in Virginia. I moved back to Virginia about 2 years ago, and so we've got another new record coming out in the spring. So I'll have 2 full albums coming out in 2020.
Jeez, that's crazy.
It's a lot of material.
That is. Yeah. So do you have any material that's not made, these 2 albums, that we could see maybe down the road possibly, or no? Are you just going to do all new stuff from here on out?
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, I write a lot, I think, more so than your average writer. A lot of those songs, don't leave the bedroom, or because I've got current material to work on. When I write a new song, a lot of times I have to make a demo at home and kind of shelf it until I have the resources and the time to rehearse it with the band and make an official recording of it. So, in addition to the stuff I just talked about, like I've been writing recently and went into the studio a couple weeks ago and recorded some songs just acoustic with myself and my other singer, Blake, who does female vocals, harmony vocals in the band. And those will be out maybe at some point later in 2020. And I've got several releases up to this point as well. The Little Horse Tapes was a 6-song EP that I recorded in Colorado to cassette. So it's a fuzzy little cassette recording. And then I've got Las Cruces, which will be on Nostalgia. And even before that, there's a whole nother profile of a band called Mitchel Evan and the Mangrove, which is what Las Cruces was written about, that band breakup. And that band, Mitchel Evan and the Mangrove, has 2 EPs and a full-length album on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff.
See, folks, so much material, man.
Yeah.
But that's good, though. You've got that much material out there. These 2 new albums that's getting ready to come out, are these kind of along the same musical standpoint, or are they totally different from each other?
Well, I think that they're very different from each other. What I was doing in Colorado up to that point with Mitchel Evan and the Mangrove was kind of an Americana blues band. It was a vocal-heavy band with 3. I was obviously writing the songs and doing lead vocals, but we had 2 other singers in the band doing harmonies. And the way I look back on that stuff is kind of an exploration of American music. I'm doing studies in blues and Americana and even country and folk. And then Nostalgia, which Las Cruces is off of, is more or less a folk album. There's some drums, there's a lot of strings on the record. There's 2 songs with full string arrangements, but it's mostly acoustic guitar and revolves around that. The record that you can look forward to hearing later this year, which will be my self-titled album, which I've recorded and since I've been back in Virginia, is a little bit, I don't want to say more produced, but maybe more, it's higher energy. I'm playing electric guitar on most songs as opposed to acoustic guitar. It's got full bass, drums, violin, and harmony vocals on it. So there's some songs that are even on kind of the indie rock side of things. A lot of it is just upbeat Americana, and then one slow, sad acoustic song thrown in there for good measure.
Any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on each of these albums that you're getting ready to put out here, man? I know it must change every time you listen to it or every time you talk about them, but do you have any that stick out personally for you, Mitchel?
Sure. Yeah, so I would like to give a shout out to our most recent single, which just happened after Las Cruces. I released a song called Happy Valentine's Day on February 14th, 2020, which was Valentine's Day. It was Friday. And that song is very near and dear to my heart. I'm actually on tour in New York right now, playing a few shows, and I've been playing that song every night since I've been out on the road. And it's a very personal, very vulnerable song that I wrote a couple years ago and started writing a couple years ago and just finished like last month, right before we went into the studio and recorded it. And it's similar setup to what I described. There's brushes on drums. I'm playing acoustic guitar on this one, violin, bass, and 2 vocals, myself and our female singer, Blake. And the song is, I think, indicative of the direction that I'm heading and really what I aspire to do lyrically, in the sense of telling a story from start to finish and including specific details, which is something that I look for as a listener and strive for as an artist, to include the specific details of my experience, the people, places, and things that really draw you in. Writing
that Valentine's Day song, though, did it allow you to I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way or in negative or anything like that, but I mean, did it allow you to grow some? Did it allow you to just put things out there to in a positive perspective wise, to go forward, move forward?
Sure. Yeah, that song, when it first came to me, it was after a devastating romantic breakup with a girlfriend that I'd been with for a little over a year, and things ended pretty abruptly. And I wrote it the week of Valentine's Day the previous year. I think it was 2018. at the time, and I was alone on tour playing a string of shows in Oklahoma and Kansas, and writing that song and finishing that song was it was a lot of work for me to break it down and distill it. You know, at one point I had like 7 verses, and that's often how I work. Is I'll write too much, and then like making a statue out of a stone. So I'll have 2 pages of lyrics, and then I kind of start to chip away at it and take out what isn't necessary or what doesn't serve the story, and try to distill it into its most concise form, where every word and every line is necessary to telling the story that I want to tell. And so I worked really hard on that song, and I think it was a breakthrough for me as a writer.
Mitchell, what do you hope everyone takes away, or message you hope they hear while listening to any of your music in general? What do you hope they get from it, man, when they start to listen to it?
That's a good question. I want the listener to hopefully find some of themselves in the music, or to at least be able to relate to the feeling that I'm trying to convey, if not the specific details of the experience. And if nothing else, even if they can't relate it to their own feelings and experience, to recognize that the story that I'm telling and that the message I'm conveying is honest, and it's really coming from me and from a place of earnestness and vulnerability.
Who produced these albums for you, man?
So Nostalgia, which Las Cruces is off of, was recorded and produced in Lakewood, Colorado, which is a suburb outside of Denver, by my friend Ben Van Horn, who's now passed away well before his time.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was kind of a sudden thing towards the end of the album, actually. Just an unfortunate health accident. And the most recent record that's going to come out in the spring of this year, which will be my self-titled album, it'll be called Mitchel Evan, was recorded and co-produced by myself and engineered by Mitch Clem at Go West Studios in Richmond. It's a home studio in Richmond, Virginia, but really, like, as far as home studios go, the nicest home studio I've ever worked in. Even to call it a home studio is kind of doesn't do it justice, for sure, because Mitch Clem is an absolute pleasure to work with. He's a very talented engineer, and he's got great ideas, and I feel very blessed that I was able to meet him and start this partnership with him just a little over a year ago, and I look forward to making more recordings with him in the future. So Happy Valentine's Day was recorded with Mitch Clem at Go West as well. So
working with both of these guys, did they get something out of you, man, that somebody else may not have gotten? Did they see the potential that was there that they finally got out of you, possibly?
Well, I hope so. I like working with people that I trust. I think that's the most important thing in this day and age. Gear is pretty standard wherever you go. There's people can have the same equipment in their home, in a bedroom, that they have at a big studio that you're paying $800 a day for. So, and everyone's, either using Logic Pro Tools or some analog system. So all that aside, I think the person behind the board or behind the computer is what's most important. So I try to work with people that I trust, that I believe in, and that I'm comfortable around, and comfortable being vulnerable with and sharing this stuff, which is intimate, so working on it is an intimate process. So I hope that, we can't ask Ben because he's passed away, but I know that when I was working with Ben in Colorado, he played bass with me live a couple of times, which he never had to do. I think he was excited and happy to do. He took on that project because he was interested in the music and he liked the material. And we made some really creative decisions together about the album and about the recording process. And with Mitch in Richmond, I think we have gotten pretty close. Mitch is a soft-spoken, kind of quiet individual, which ended up being perfect for me because when I'm behind the driver's seat in the studio, I like to make a lot of the decisions. So Mitch is kind of there to, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but to push the buttons and pull the levers and make sure everything goes smoothly. And then if I don't have the answer, I can turn to him and ask for guidance or ask for help, and he's there and he has great ideas. So yeah, I also think that with Mitch, he's worked with lots of a diverse roster of artists, from punk rock to indie rock to pop. And I think this was kind of his first time working with an Americana folk-based artist such as myself. And I think it has pushed him a little bit in the way that he works and the type of instruments he's working with. I mean, we're tracking acoustic violin, upright bass, accordion on one song. So we're doing a lot of different stuff.
What can fans expect at a show from yourself and the Saboteurs when they come to see you live? What are they going to get when they come to see you, man?
Well, it depends. These days, when I'm traveling out of state, mostly it's solo, which would be me with an acoustic guitar and a harmonica in my voice, sometimes a banjo. I started playing the banjo the past year. I would like to work piano into my set eventually as a solo artist as well, because I like playing the piano. Sometimes we travel and perform as a trio, which is myself, Blake Smurrell on female vocals doing harmonies, and Spencer Conroy playing violin. So that's kind of the acoustic trio lineup. And then the full Saboteurs is a 5-piece band with bass, drums, myself on electric guitar, violin, and Blake singing harmonies. So the Saboteurs is a high-energy band. We all love each other very much in the band, and I think that is very evident to the viewer. I think that people have a good time watching us because we're having a good time up there, and we believe in the songs we're playing, and so hopefully the listener will too.
Is there a country that stands out or shocks you that your music gets support from, or you're even heard in that country, possibly?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. I remember reviewing my Spotify, I don't remember what it's called, the rundown or whatever at the end of the year. And I was shocked that we had some listeners out of the country. I want to say like Italy or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Some European country that I didn't anticipate. But yeah, I don't have the numbers for that in front of me, but I do know that I'm inspired and influenced by a lot of foreign music. Irish music is a big inspiration to me, and something that I've studied over the years, English folk music as well, and music from all over the world. So yeah, I hope that we can gather more foreign listeners as time progresses.
It amazes me, and I've said this since day one, that how music is a language for everybody. It could soothe the savage beast, as I should say. It's
right, the universal language.
Yeah, it's just so great. Even Americana music, man. There's stuff I dig like that.
Sure.
Just because
sure.
just because I listen to horror punk metal, and Ozzy and all that stuff, I do have other things I do like.
Right. Yeah, of course. And I grew up, the first band I played in was punk rock, and I think you'll find that it's actually not that unusual for there to be some overlap and a crossover between the heavier genres like punk and metal and like country and folk music. And I've actually seen a lot of artists that used to play in punk bands that as they grow up in age, they start moving into more acoustic based music, whether that's country or folk. A few artists actually come to mind, So I think that the genres do speak to each other in a way. And that's pretty cool, And American music, Americana, is really just like America is as a place. We're founded by immigrants. We're a melting pot, and Americana music is the same way. The banjo, which is like a trademark of Appalachian and American music, is actually from Africa, and like all the bluegrass instruments like mandolin and stuff are borrowed from the lute and other instruments from Europe. So
did you have a go-to album when you were younger, or just a song that allowed you to escape or just made you feel like everything was going to be better? Did you possibly have that maybe?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of different music that's done that for me over the years, but I will say that a few artists that come to mind when I was young, like in middle school, Elliott Smith was a huge one for me. I found a lot of safety and solace in his music and his songs. Whatever he was feeling, I could relate to it at the time. And also another artist that comes to mind is Glenn Hansard, who's an Irish singer-songwriter. So yeah, those two in particular, I think.
Folks, you want to get out and support Mitchel Evan. Get out and pick up his albums. Mitchel, how can folks stay in touch with you, buy some merchandise, tour dates, these new albums that's getting ready to drop, or anything that they want to pick up from you? How can they do that, good sir?
Yeah, they can follow for all the updates on www.mitchelevanmusic.com. That's Mitchell with one L. You can find all of my officially unreleased material at mitchelevan.bandcamp.com. That's my unofficial page provided by Bandcamp. And also follow us on the socials on Instagram and Facebook at Mitchel Evan Music. That's Mitchell with one L again. And on the website, you can join our mailing list by going to the contact page and doing that. And most of our shows are provided on Instagram and Facebook as well. So.
And before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Sure thing. All right. This is Mitchel Evan, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up. You only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out check out our Facebook page. It has our new podcast link and also has our YouTube link. You want to subscribe to those because anything and everything that we do will go up on those sites. Also, get out and check out Mitchel Evan. Please support him. He does have some great music, and I'm not just saying it just because he's on the show. I'm absolutely backing him on here. So, Mitchel, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, and you're always welcome back on here.
All right, Buds. Hey, thank you so much. You have a great day.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.